Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out my podcast. This is a basketball podcast, so on my podcast, I like to talk about the NBA, high school, college, and international basketball. Now, before I get started on today's episode, I just first and foremost want to thank you guys who's been on this journey with me since the beginning of the NBA season, and even throughout college, because we also talked about college quite a bit this year on my pod. So this is the last regular season episode of the NBA season. So in this episode today, we're going to talk about a plethora of things. We're going to talk about the NBA, but we're also going to dive into some college, which college just finished up. So we'll dive into that. And also we're going to dive into some high school basketball as well, okay? So I want to give you guys the segments that I usually go over week in and week out. The first segment being a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, in PJ's Echelon, essentially, is just my power rankings. Today, like I just told you guys, this is my last regular season episode. So this will be my last power rankings to end the NBA season. And then later, about mid next week, after the play-in tournament's done, then I'll give you guys my playoff predictions and whatnot. So today's our last power rankings version of our pod. And then segment I go over after that is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, in What's New, I'm talking about some type of basketball news. It could be an NBA, high school, college, or international, or it could just be me ranting about something. Today, we're actually going to check in on some high school. We're going to kind of just review Chipotle Nationals, which is arguably one of the biggest high school tournaments. So we're going to go over some Chipotle Nationals, some things I like, some players I learned about. We're going to talk about that today. And then also we're going to preview the Nike Hoop Summit, which takes place today, actually. I'm actually going to be attending the Nike Hoop Summit later this evening. So I'll give you guys my preview on that as well. And then another segment I go over is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about some type of basketball game I enjoyed watching. It could be in the NBA, high school, college, or international basketball. Today, we're going to check in on some college. We're going to actually just kind of go backwards. We're going to review and just kind of summarize the Final Four. We'll talk about the national title game. And so that's what we're going to do in Games of the Week today. And then we'll close it out with my last segment. My last segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, in the Lab, I normally talk about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, or international basketball. Today, we're going to actually go back. We're going to revisit the McDonald's All-American game and just some players that kind of stood out to me. So we'll talk about that today in the lab, okay? And just so you guys know, this episode is being recorded April 11th, 2026 at about 1 p.m. So anything that happens after 1 o'clock today will not be featured on this episode. So my first segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, PJ's Echelon essentially is just my power rankings. Understand that this is a progressive list because I am a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And like I told you guys, this is being recorded April 11th, 2026 at about 1 p.m. So anything that happens after 1 o'clock today will not be featured on this episode. I know that there's no games today, so shouldn't really matter. But also understanding this is my last power ranking. So take it how you want to take it. We're just going to dive straight into it. I don't want to waste any more of you guys' time. My number one team this week is none other than the 64-17 Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC right now, they're 7th in offensive rating, 1st in defensive rating, and 1st in net rating. So first and foremost, I want to congratulate them on back-to-back 60-win seasons. That is a hard feat to do, and very few teams end up doing it in NBA history. Also want to show them some love and also kind of just bring it to the surface. Something I noticed, and I'm pretty sure we all can kind of relate to it, is when teams and even players that we like are kind of like the underdogs to start off with, and then they become more so the favorites, people start to dislike them. I feel like that's what's kind of happened to OKC this year, where people are not, cheering and rooting for them as much anymore. For me, I just enjoy watching greatness. I enjoy being in the present moment and enjoying what I'm watching and being content with what I'm watching. So I just want to show them some love because what Oklahoma City's done this year, what they did last year, it's rare. You don't see teams oftenly win 60 games back to back. So I just want to show them some love. And they're still such a young team. So I just don't want people to get lost in that and lost in starting to hate them before we really get to appreciate what this team potentially may be able to do over the next 5 to 6 years. So I just want to show them some love because I'm very proud of them. And, like I said, it's a spectacle to watch. It's pretty amazing to watch. They did it pretty much from the grassroots, from the bottom up, built the team from the ground up, betted on Shea, drafted Chet, drafted Jalen Williams, put together a really good supporting cast. So I want to give credit and a big shout out to Sam Presti as well. I mean, for him to build up OKC with KD, James Harden, and Russ, to go through that and then to basically rebuild it up better, you got to give the man his flowers. So I want to give a shout out to them, man, to start off that. Okay, number 2, they're number 1 this week, though. I just have to show them some love, man. Number 2, this team is 62-19, and it is the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio right now, they're 4th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating, 2nd in net rating. So I felt like we all knew they were going to make a jump this year. I don't know how many people had them winning 60 games. Personally, I didn't have them winning 60 games, but I did have Wemby on my MVP ballot, like most of us. I had Mitch Johnson on my Coach of the Year ballot to start the year. And I think it was about December-ish, I started kind of vouching like we should be looking at Keldon Johnson for 6th Man of the Year. So I did do that, but I did not expect them to win 60 games. So a big shout out to them. I think regardless of what happens in the playoffs, this was a great season for them, so I'm going to give them some love. And I just ask people to enjoy the ride with this team, man. Just like with OKC, just enjoy the ride. Be patient, enjoy the ride. This is still a young and hungry team, and we're literally get to enjoy them probably for the next 6 to 7 years as a core. So let's just enjoy what we're witnessing, okay? So shout out to San Antonio, they're number 2 this week. Number 3, this team is 59-22, and it is the Detroit Pistons. Detroit right now, they're 9th in offensive rating, 2nd in defensive rating, and 3rd in net rating. So honestly, I feel like they surprised a lot of us last year. They did it again this year. So big props to them for not being content with the success they had last year. Much love to Detroit. I'm excited to watch how they perform in the playoffs because also I think their supporting cast may not be getting the love that they deserve. So I just want to show them some love. And, man, shout out to my boy Shea, man. Detroit basketball, stand up. Number 4, this team is 55-26, and it is the Boston Celtics. Boston right now, they're 2nd in offensive rating, 4th in defensive rating, 4th in net rating. I think I want to show some love and major credit to, first and foremost, the head of the snake, Joe Mazzulla, for him galvanizing the troops this year, going into the year, for this team performing and winning almost 60 games, for not having Tatum, for losing Drew Holiday, for not having Porzingis, basically bringing back a whole new plethora of players that had smaller roles last year, and for Joe Mazzulla to coach this team up, to put the belief in them, and then for Jaylen Brown to say, I got you guys, get on my back. I got you guys, skip the outside noise. Don't worry about what people outside is saying about us. I got us. I want to give them some love because I didn't have them. I surely didn't have them winning 55 games. I feel like a lot of people probably didn't. Unless you're a Boston fan, then of course a lot of Boston fans are, I knew we were going to be good. They're Boston fans. So, but I just want to give them their flowers. So I got to give mass love to them. And then I think the most glaring thing is Tatum's playmaking. It's going to be a major weapon for this team heading into the playoffs. I think it's really has shown itself really since he's gotten a little bit more comfortable. So I just want to show them some love, man. They're number 4 this week for me, Boston, man. Stand up. Number 5 this week. This team is 53-28, and that is the Denver Nuggets. Denver right now, they're 1st in offensive rating, 21st in defensive rating, and 6th in net rating. So for me, the reason why I moved them back up to 5, because they were 10th last time I did my power rankings a couple weeks ago. I moved them back up to 5 because, one, they're a healthy team, and also they've kind of looked like the team that I was high on back in November and December. They kind of look like that team again. No injuries. They're 8-0 since the last time I did this. So here comes Denver, man. Here comes the Denver Nuggets, in my opinion. They got a lights-out offense. They have the physicality and experience on defense as well. So watch out for the Denver Nuggets. They're number 5 for me to close out the season. Number 6, this team is 53-28, and that is the New York Knicks. New York right now, they're 3rd in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating, 5th in net rating. So regular season coaching-wise, I do see an improvement to them. So shout out to them for doing that. I know last year they finished about 13th in defensive rating. This year, like I just told you guys, they're 6th in defensive rating. So a big shout out to Mike Brown and that coaching staff. They for sure look a lot more connected this time around. But we all know they're going to be judged on what they do in May and June. So that's what's going to really determine what happens with New York. But still credit to Mike Brown and improving this team's defense. New York's number 6 this week for me. Number 7, this team is 51-30, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland right now, they're 6th in offensive rating, 15th in defensive rating, 9th in net rating. So they're 19-7 since James Harden was traded to the team. And kind of take that a little bit with a grain of salt because Mitchell's missed some games, Allen's missed a lot of games, even Mobley's missed some games. So we still really don't know what we really have here with this team in complete totality, in my opinion. I think also they're another team that's going to be judged after what they do in May and June, right? And that's why they made that trade. I'm just curious and interested to watch as they go through the playoffs. Did that 4 trio have enough reps together to really make some noise in the playoffs? They're a dangerous team regardless, but I'm just curious, okay? They're number 7 for me. Number 8, this team is 51-30, and that is the Houston Rockets. Houston right now, they're 8th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating, 7th in net rating. So they've closed out the season, I feel like, on more of a solid note. It's been kind of rough for them since the beginning of the new year, to be honest. The last 10 games, they're 8-2 in their last 10. I still think they've underperformed in totality of what was expected of them out of this year, but this is still going to be a tough out for anybody that matches up with them. Number 9, this team is 48-33, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota, they are 12th in offensive rating, 8th in defensive rating, 10th in net rating. So last year, about pretty much the same record. Last year, they finished 49-33. This year, so far, they're 48-33, and most likely are probably going to win their game on Sunday. I've been saying this since December. This is a very stagnant team, in my opinion. You still got to give them props, though, even though they're stagnant, for being consistent. It's hard to make the playoffs year in and year out in this league. They went to 2 consecutive conference finals, so I don't want to snub at that because that's hard to do regardless. But I think something to remember about this team is this team still can ramp it up defensively, and they're tough, they're physical, they got experience. So they're going to be a tough out for whoever matches up with them. And I think we're headed for part 3 of them versus the Denver Nuggets in the first round. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Number 10, this team is 52-29, and it is the Los Angeles Lakers. LA, right now, they're 10th in offensive rating, 20th in defensive rating, 14th in net rating. So for me, I feel like the Lakers finished the season pretty strong from a winning standpoint. I think also, obviously, losing Luka and Austin Reeves is mainly why I got them as low as 10. I think if they weren't injured, I'd probably have them up maybe 2 more spots, maybe 3 spots. But I got to give a shout out to LeBron for stepping up and doing what the King's supposed to do when the village is down, and that's step up and tell them to get on his back. So shout out to LeBron for still doing it at the age he's doing it. This roster, in my opinion, and I've said it before, I think this roster is going to look different this time next year. But we got to enjoy the ride while we got it. And hopefully Luka can somehow miraculously come back midway through the first round for this team. My team's on the bubble to finish the NBA season. One is the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta's just been blazing hot, and they look like a very strong young team. And then the Charlotte Hornets was a team that in my preseason, I had them as one of my play-in teams. So got to give some love to Charlotte. They're one of my bubble teams to finish the year. And then my last bubble team is the Toronto Raptors. I think that's just a strong defensive team. So I want to give Toronto some love, too, for their performance this year. They were in my play-in, too, but I just want to give them some love. But, yeah, so that's what I got for my final power rankings. You guys let me know down in the comment section below who's in your top 10 and who do you have on your bubble. My next segment is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, I'm talking about some type of basketball news that may have happened this last week, some type of basketball historical history that was made, or it could just be me kind of ranting. Today, we're going to talk about some high school basketball. We're going to talk about some Chipotle Nationals, and then I'll give you guys kind of like my preview for the Nike Hoop Summit. So within this, I'm just giving you guys that I didn't know about and guys that kind of just intrigued me. So that's what this is going to mainly be about. And then with the Nike Hoop Summit, it's a preview. So I'll give you guys from the World Team and Team USA that I'll kind of just be watching out for and why I'm watching out for them, okay? So let's just dive straight into it. But before I really dive into it, first I want to give some love to the national champs. It was CIA Bella Vista High School out in Phoenix, Arizona. So big shout out to them. They won the national title at Chipotle Nationals. And the MVP, I believe, was Miles Sadler. That's one of the players actually I'm ready to talk about. But I want to give them a big shout out. So, yeah, I want to just dive into it. Actually, we can start with Miles Sadler. He's about 6 foot. He's the number 31 rated player in class of 2026. And just so you guys know, the rankings I like to use 24/7 sports rankings just because for me, it lines up with my kind of like personal views on like how I view these players and like how I watch them. The people that do the scouting for them, I like kind of respect and I kind of resemble, and like we have very similar views, so that's why I use theirs instead of ESPN's. I hear that you guys hear the rankings. It's all for 24/7 Sports K. I just want to let you guys know. But Miles Sadler, he's ranked number 31. He's 6 foot. He committed to West Virginia. Easily was the best point guard throughout this whole tournament, in my opinion. He got to wherever he wanted on the court. He passed in whatever holes or any seams he wanted to. Shooting. He was killing teams in the pick and roll. He was tough. Very good finisher, scrappy. I think the only thing that's really holding him back is obviously his height. He's 6 foot. But otherwise, he would be ranked higher, I'm pretty sure. But he dominated. I mean, he dominated all tournament long. He carried his team's offense. He had a bucket for whenever they needed a bucket. I'm actually looking forward to watching him at West Virginia because I don't know who's on West Virginia's team right now. But I think I would be kind of surprised if he's not starting for them next year. He's just a fun watch. He's such a fun watch, and I hope for his sake, I hope he's able to grow 2 to 3 inches because the kid got serious game. So I'm gonna give him some love, man. Another player. This player is ranked number 40th. His name is Taurus Bowie. He's 6'6". He's going to Alabama. To me, he just has a fluidity to his game. I like his physical tools. His wingspan is nuts. I think he has like a 7 foot wingspan or close to it. It looked like, in my opinion, great athleticism. Got to work on his jump shot, but I like his physical tools. So that was somebody that kind of just stood out to me as well. Another player, this kid is number 42. His name is Quincy Wadley. I guess he dealt with a lot of injuries throughout high school. But personally, I loved his form on his jump shot and his movements with the ball in his hands, the way he was able to kind of just get to wherever he wanted on the court and manipulate the defense in the way he wanted. It just seemed like he was a natural scorer, in my opinion. So I'm going to be watching him close. I don't think he's committed to anywhere quite yet. And if he did, I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. But he's ranked number 42 on 24/7 Sports Ranking. And like I said, he just kind of intrigued me. Another player, I had a couple players from class of 2027. So these kids are juniors. There's a couple players in that age group that I really liked. One is number 9. He's ranked number 9. His name is Nazir Anderson, 6'4", uncommitted. Honestly, left-handed, quick, physical, decisive as a point guard. I really want to just see, obviously, I want to see his jump shot improve. And then also I want to see him use his right hand a little bit more. I didn't really see him use his right hand much. It looked like he was very left-hand dominant, which rightfully so. If you can get to where you need to be with your dominant hand, so be it. But I know obviously as he wants to evolve and grow as a player, he's going to have to learn how to use his right hand a lot more. But to me, he was easily one of the best players on the court for Prolific Prep. And that's saying a lot because also on his team, on Prolific Prep, he has Caleb Holt, who's coming out, who's a senior this year. And Caleb Holt's ranked like 4th or 5th. And then also on his team, he has Bruce Branch, which Bruce Branch is somebody I'm going to talk about in one of my later segments. But Bruce Branch is highly rated. Bruce Branch was the number 1 rated junior, but he reclassified. And I think in the senior class, Bruce Branch is ranked like 7th or 8th. But Anderson stood out to me. Just his command on the floor. He was great, and he's only a junior too, mind you guys. So he's somebody that I was very impressed with. And then another player in that class, this other kid is ranked number 4 in class of 2027. His name is Paul Osaruri, 6'10". He's a center. He's uncommitted yet. As crazy as this might sound, he seemed like, in my opinion, he's ready to play in college today. He showed a potential to develop a shooting touch. True athlete. In the open floor, he has open floor ability. I've seen him get the rebound and go the length of the court a couple times. He's a very good pick and roll man. He had Miles Sadler because he was on Sadler's team. He had Sadler setting him up throughout the tournament. And then also his fellow big man, I forgot the other guy's name. He was a really good athlete too, but Paul just jumped to me. Like physically, the kid's all ready to play in college. So I'm very excited to see how he is a year from now at the Chipotle Nationals. But yeah, Paul Osarui, that was a player that really popped to me. And I'm excited to watch how he grows over this next year. Another player, and now we're back to class of 2026. He's ranked number 39. His name is Luca Foster, 6'7", going to Gonzaga. Honestly, I like his jump shot a lot, and I like the way just physically he's already built for college, in my opinion. To me, he's like a 6'7" shooting guard, so I'm excited to watch him at Gonzaga. Another player, he's ranked number 43. It's Caden House, 6'3", kind of combo guard going to Maryland. And yes, that is one of the sons of Eddie House, former Boston Celtic, Eddie House. So his name is Caden House. I'm excited to watch him. Great physical defender, has such a motor on him. I think he's a kind of a true combo guard in my opinion. He does kind of a little bit of everything on both sides of the ball. He plays so hard. Easily was one of the best hustle players I watched all tournament long. He was involved in so much of his team's offense and defense. Kid's got a motor on him, so I'm excited to watch him at Maryland. Another player, he's in class of 2026, and he's not even ranked. He wasn't ranked at least on 24/7 Sports. He might be ranked very low on ESPN, but this dude, his name is Dahani Miller, 6'3". He's going to Kent State. He's a flat-out bucket getter, in my opinion. I mean, he was truly the offensive engine, in my opinion, for Montverde throughout this tournament. I don't know how he's not getting more looks at schools, personally. He also had a teammate named Joe Philon, which is LeBaron Philon's, I think is his cousin. Joe had really great moments throughout this tournament too, so I want to give him some love. And then also another player that I want to give some love was King Gibson. He's ranked number 7 in class of 2027. He was hooping too. So those are just some players I want to give some love to at the Chipotle Nationals. You guys let me know down in the comment section below what players at Chipotle Nationals did you guys really like. And yeah, so now we'll go over to the Nike Hoop Summit. So now on the Nike Hoop Summit, these are just players I'm going to be watching out for. We'll start off with Team World. One is Adam Almanya. Adam Almanya is a 6'5" shooting guard from France. He's someone I've been following for over a year now, about a year and a half, close to 2 years now with Adam Almanya. Honestly, I've talked about him on the pod to you guys. So I'm interested to see how he looks live in person, and then also playing against this comp because Team USA stacked. So I'm excited to see how he looks against Team USA because he's been playing professional over in France the last year. So I'm looking forward to watching him. And another player I just named him was Miles Sadler. Played great at Chipotle Nationals, was the best player on that court. He's Canadian, so he's on Team World. Like I told you guys, he dominated at Chipotle Nationals. I'm really interested to see how if and how he stands out on this stage with all this talent on the court. I'm really, really interested to see how he does that. And then another player that you guys may or may not know about, his name is Minka. It's Minka Mareni. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name. He's 6'11". He's from Finland. I've been following him. Another player I've been following for over a year now. I've talked about him slightly on the podcast to you guys too. He's been playing a lot right now this last year. He's playing overseas. But I'm interested to see how he plays against Team USA because originally he was playing over in the States. He was playing actually for AZ Compass. But then he ended up going overseas to play. So I'm interested to see what growth has been made in his game because he's going to be familiar with a lot of these dudes on Team USA. So I'm interested just to watch him against them. And then on Team USA, some players that I'm looking forward to watching. One is the number 1 rated player in class of 2026, and that's Tyron Stokes. He's 6'8". He's, to me, he's a small forward, but he's a point forward. You could tell the kid wants to pass first. I'm very interested just to see how he handles being on a team with all these other great players. Also, I want to see how much he stands out to me because I was on the record, and I said this back when I watched him live at the Les Schwab tournament. Phenomenal passer, physically imposing. My problems with him was just I didn't like his attitude, and then also I felt like physically his body, like his weight wasn't. Like, he wasn't physically where I would have liked the number 1 player to be compared to, like, Jordan Smith, who's the number 2 rated player, who's just a chiseled brick. But I'm interested to see how Tyron Stokes handles being on this team. Tyron Stokes, and I've said it on the pod, I felt like he wasn't the best player in class of 26, but physically and like the gifts he has, I see why he is the number one rated player. I guess want to see him really show him being the number one player. You know, like I said, I want to see his body. I want him physically take that responsibility to have a nice chiseled body. Because in the open court, he's a blur. The he's special in open court and passing the ball. He got to work on his jump shot, but that comes with age and reps. But yeah, I just want to see Tyron Stokes really command the court tonight. That's what I'm going to be looking for, is for him just to command the court and to shut me up, right? Shut me up. Show me you have the attitude. Because like I said, during the Les Schwab, there were moments during that where I just didn't like his body language. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching him tonight. And whoever gets him as a college player, they're a lucky team because, like I said, the kid's special. He's a special passer, and he's a team player. I'm not questioning him being a team player. Just his attitude and his body language at times I didn't like. Another player, this guy's name is Elijah Williams. He's 6'6". He's going to Baylor. I don't know anything about him. So the reason why I brought his name here is because something similar happened to me last year, and it was with Trey McKinney. Trey McKinney ended up going to Michigan and obviously was a big contributor to Michigan winning the national title off the bench for them this year. I came on the pod last year to you guys, and I said Trey McKinney was somebody to watch out for because I was like, he was a baller. He stood out to me glaringly in Nike Hoop Summit last year. So for me, the players that I'm going to be watching out for is Elijah Williams going to Baylor, and then another one is Ethan Taylor. He's a 7-foot center going to Michigan State. Those are the two guys on Team USA that I'm going to be watching out for and seeing if they could potentially have that Trey McKinney effect going in for their teams next year, where it's like, okay, wow, this freshman came out of nowhere kind of, you know. But Trey McKinney didn't come out of nowhere to me at Michigan because I told you guys during the summit last year how much I really liked Trey McKinney and that he really popped for me at the summit. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys for this. Like I said, you guys let me know down in the comment section below. If you're going to Nike Hoop Summit, you know, if you're going, maybe we can link up. But you guys let me know down in the comment section below who'd you like at Chipotle Nationals and who are you looking forward to watching at the Nike Hoop Summit. My next segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about some type of NBA, high school, college, or national game that I really enjoyed watching, or it could be a game of some type of significance. Today, we're going to just relive the Final Four because I haven't talked about the Final Four on here because I didn't record last week because I was upset that Duke lost. But yeah, so let's go back to the Final Four real quick. We'll talk about UConn versus Illinois. UConn did win this game 71-62. And truth be told, from start to finish, I felt like UConn controlled this game in its totality. Offensively, defensively, coming out of timeouts. Dan Hurley, to me, is the best coach in college basketball. I confidently, and I've said that even earlier this year, I felt like I've said that. He's the best college coach when it comes to X's and O's. And mind you, he doesn't get many 5 stars. Yeah, Braylon Mullins was a 5-star this year. I don't remember I know Stephon Castle was a 5-star coming out too. I can't remember if Donovan Clingan was a 5-star coming out or not. I think he was. I think Clingan was a 5-star. But I'm interested really to see what – I ain't going to say too much about Dan Hurley right now. I just want to give him some love because he coached the heck out of that game. And also, I got to give him flowers for coaching his team through that Duke game, persevering through that. So, got to give him flowers on that too. And then also, I want to show some love to Keaton Wagler. Keaton Wagler, I mean, he couldn't hit anything from 3, but he just kept just going at it, right? Like, he didn't give up. He showed a lot of physicality and toughness, and that's why I had Illinois in my Final Four because I felt like they were battle-tested playing in the Big Ten, and the way they handled themselves against Houston, which is a really physical team, and then the way they handled themselves against UConn, like, big shout-out to them. I think Keaton really solidified himself as a top 10 pick really throughout this tournament. I had no doubts he was. Like, I had him in my top 10, but I think that really solidified him. So I want to give him some love. Very disappointed in his backmate, Boswell. He really didn't do much this game. He's a senior, so I was hoping that he would kind of pull through. But he only finished with 6 points in that game. But yeah, so big shout out to UConn. I mean, UConn was hitting threes like crazy in the first half. And mind you, most of the tournament they've been frozen. So I want to give them a big credit for how they handled themselves in that game. And they also played within their system. In the first half, they had 14 assists, only 3 turnovers. So big shout out. UConn, like I said, ended up winning that game. And then the other game was Michigan, Arizona. Honestly, I was really disappointed in myself because I did come on here and I told you guys Arizona was the best team in the country. And I believe that. I really did believe that. But then also the other part of me wanted to convince myself that because like my uncle, he's a big Michigan head and we always talk basketball and I've always had to hear him talk about Michigan. So it was frustrating me. So, but Michigan had been the best team all year. It's been obvious. They were dominant at the beginning of the year, blowing out ranked teams. Michigan has been the best team all year. It was just me being selfish, and me being more so subjective, which I'm a very objective person. So for me to get caught up in a subjective thing, I'm just mad at myself because I usually don't get like that. But yeah, so got to give credit where credit's due. Michigan ended up blowing Arizona out convincingly, and I should have known that. Arizona don't take threes. Michigan defends the paint amazingly. I should have already known that was going to be a recipe for disaster. They destroyed them. I mean, the first half didn't really tell. This first half, Michigan was trouncing them, but the second half, it was just obliteration, domination. I'm not going to spend too much time on that game. And then in the national title game, Michigan versus UConn. First half, like I said, big shout out to Dan Hurley. Kept his boys in the game. Went into halftime. It was 33-29 Michigan. And I felt like UConn at that point was in the game just based off their effort, which is a big salute to their players and to Coach Hurley. And then second half, they kind of just, the final score was 69-63, but Michigan had, I felt like, pretty good control of the game, in my opinion. And I feel like Michigan as well was just kind of scoring at will. They didn't make their threes. In the first half, Michigan shot 0 for 16 from 3 outside of the paint. So outside of the paint, they shot 0 from 16. They had no fast break points either in the first half. But I just felt like Michigan's size, physicality, toughness, and their will. Big shout out to Elliot Cadeau. I know Cadeau was somebody people have been was very down on. Big shout out to him because he came to play this whole tournament. And I could just tell he wanted it. So big credit to them. And then big credit again to UConn. UConn had 22 offensive rebounds in this game. So big credit to them for their effort and fighting it to the end. But the team that obviously prevailed was the Michigan Wolverines. So go Blue. I got to put some respect on their name. Go Blue. It was their first title since 1989, which that was the Glenn Rice team that ended up winning that national title last. So yeah, I just want to give you guys just briefly talk about the Final Four. And then, so we got games coming up this week. In the NBA, it looks most likely our play-in games. We're going to get Phoenix versus the Blazers most likely. And then we're going to get Clippers and Golden State. And then in the East, we get Charlotte and the Heat. And then Philadelphia and Orlando. I'm not going to pick winners of these games. I think I'm just going to kind of just let them kind of work themselves out. But yeah, that's all I got for games of the week this week. Obviously, the NBA playoff starts next weekend, but I'll be on here before that. So that's all I got for games of the week. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts? And what was your thoughts on the Final Four? My last segment is a segment I forgot in the lab. Now, in the lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, or international basketball. Today, we're going to check in and kind of go back to the All-American game that took place last week. And I just kind of want to give some love. I want to just talk about some players that, to me, just kind of stood out, players I really liked, and then players I truly hadn't talked much about, and some of these players I didn't know about. So we're kind of just going to go through that. I'm going to go through that very briefly and try to go through this pretty quickly because this episode's getting pretty long. First and foremost, there were a lot of really good defenders. This next class, 2026, has a lot of really good defenders, I think. But some players that mainly, like the main guys that stood out that are like cream of the crop, guys that stood out in the All-American game. One is the number 1 rated player, Tyron Stokes. The number 5 rated player, Jason Crow Jr., the number 2 rated player, Jordan Smith Jr., and the number 12 rated player, JJ Andrews. I've actually talked about all these guys on the pod. I'm not going to spend time to talk about them right now, but I just want to show them some love because they did a really great job at the All-American game, in my opinion. And then players I really liked was Bruce Branch III. He's ranked number 6. He's going to BYU. He reclassified, like I told you guys, from 2027. In 2027, he was ranked number 1. But I've talked about him quite a few times on this pod too. I feel like he's the youngest player in this class, and I think he's really still kind of raw, I think he's still kind of a raw player in my opinion. I think he still has a lot of room to grow. So I'm really excited to watch how he plays at BYU. Another player that I really liked here was Brandon McCoy Jr., number 14th rated player. He committed to Michigan. Elite defender. I think he's going to be an instant impact player day. I think he's going to be an instant impact player day one for the Wolverines. They got a good one coming to Ann Arbor. And then players that I hadn't talked much about or I just really didn't know much about. One is number 21 rated player, Jackson Richardson, which is Jason Richardson's son. I think I have talked about him on here, but he's 6'6". He's going to Alabama. He's a great athlete, a very good and active defender is what I noticed from him. Another player was number 44 player, Quinn Costello, 6'9". He's going to Michigan, sharpshooter. I didn't know anything about him. Another player was number 9 rated player, Christian Collins, 6'9". He's going to USC. For me, he kind of gives me like a Pascal Siakam feel a little bit, just the way he kind of glides through the game. And then another player is number 16th rated player, Arifan Diane. He's 7'1", going to Houston. I think he's pretty raw. He's a behemoth of a man, I'll tell you. And then also I think he needs to shed some weight. I think right now he's like 290. I think he needs to shed like 25, probably like 30 pounds, to be honest. But he's really raw. I'm interested to see what Calvin Sampson does with him at Houston. Because if he can get him right, oh boy, watch out. But like I said, he's pretty raw in my opinion. And then another player is number 10 rated player, Darren Rippey Jr., 6'2". He's going to Duke. I'm a Duke fan. He honestly, just off of first glimpse, and like I'll tell you guys, a lot of these guys, this was the first time I've ever watched a lot of these guys play. Some of these guys, I guess, like the ones that I'm naming right now, a lot of these guys, I've never watched them play. Some of the other guys I've watched, like I watched Stokes, I watched Crow, I watched Smith, I watched JJ Andrews. Like I watched some of these guys, but some of these guys, this is my opinion. This is like first impression, right? With very little sample size. And some of these guys are going to play tonight in the Nike Hoop Summit too. But Darren Rippey, he kind of gives me a long-term college guard feel to him. He plays with great defensive energy, and he seems like above the rim athlete. He seems like he's very leapy. He seems like he got some leap to him. And then another player, this player's ranked number 85th in the nation, Darius Bevins. He's 6 foot. He's undecided. Looks like he's favoring Texas Tech. To me, he's small, but I like his movements. I liked how he moved at the McDonald's All-American game. He kind of gives me like a Darius Garland kind of play style is what I get from him. His passing and his hesitation really stood out to me. And then lastly, another player, he's ranked number 27. It's Tody Bryant. He's 6'10", going to Missouri. I like his defensive versatility and just his knack to just be around the basketball. It just really stood out to me. You guys let me know down in the comment section below who impressed you at the McDonald's All-American game. And outside of that, I want to thank you for taking the time out of the day to watch my podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and PJ's out.